Listen only mode.
Hi everyone, this is Barb Bruno. I want to welcome you to the webinar today. And what we're going to talk about today is what is a lack of accountability costing your business. I've just returned from 5 conferences and 3 in-house training programs in the last couple of months. And it's interesting because one of the questions I hear from everybody is, how do you hold people accountable? Or I can't hold people accountable. Or I have a big biller and they kind of do things the way they want to do. And so as an owner or a manager, this is always a challenge. Can you hold people accountable? What if you have somebody that's been with you for years? They know if they're the top producer. What happens when they don't want to do anything the way that you want it done? And again, these are just questions I hear all the time when I'm out in the field training. And I have to say something to all of you because it's interesting that 90% of all self-made millionaires own their own business. That's basically how they became a self-made millionaire, 90%. But so often as a business owner, what you envisioned your life to be and your business to be isn't necessarily what it ends up being. And you are only as strong as a business owner as your weakest employee. If you're not earning $250,000 or more as a business owner, you have to ask yourself why you're in business, because you can probably get a job earning that amount of money. When you're going to put your life on the line, when you're going to put your future on the line, when you're going to take all the risks, you want to build a business that is really going to make you money, because that's that's why you went into business. The best way to become wealthy, the easiest way to become wealthy or rich is to own your own business. And again, 90% of the self-made millionaires in this country own their own business. But again, one of the most common complaints I hear from everybody, and it's over and over again, is that, it's impossible to hold people accountable. This webinar is basically going to prove that that's a myth. And so what we're going to discuss today is, how does accountability affect your business? How does accountability affect your bottom line? You're in business to generate a profit, not provide jobs for people. How can you effectively hold your people accountable without alienating them? And I want you to understand the why of accountability. And it's no different, when you think about parents and children. If parents don't hold their children accountable, they can turn up to be these miserable human beings. In fact, it's interesting, when I watch parents that have adult children that have all these problems, many of those problems started when they were younger. It wasn't addressed when they were younger, so they developed the habits of failure versus the habits of success. And when you're holding people accountable, what you're having them do is you're having your people realize that there's habits of success. But as a business owner, I mentioned before, as a business owner, if you don't hold people accountable, it really is affecting everything you're doing. And you are only as strong as the weakest person who works for you. I had a call that I did recently for a group of business owners, and one of the questions was, what do I do? I've got people that aren't doing this. I have people that aren't doing that. And, my answer is always the same. When you start thinking about, should I replace somebody? Should I upgrade? Do I need to, fire somebody that works for me? It's usually not, do you need to? It's, what are you going to? You cannot have people working for you that are not making you money. You went into business, you put everything you had on the line because you envision this future. You envision this future. And that's why accountability can help you get there and can help you grow. So let's talk, first of all, is how accountability affects your business. You are in business to make a profit. And in order to hit your budget and achieve sales goals and profit goals, the individuals who work for you, must consistently attain their production goals. And in order for your business to grow and provide the lifestyle that you deserve to live, it must be profitable. If you do not hold your people attainable for the attainment of their goals, then you could jeopardize the future of your business. And that's a very scary thing that, I have owners in Houston, Texas right now. They're being very adversely impacted by oil and gas. Anybody that's in oil and gas in Houston is feeling it. The rest of us are going, yay, low gas prices. The people in Houston are going, oh my God, my business just disappeared. And I've talked to many owners. In fact, I went to Houston a month ago and I worked with a number of owners in the morning. And, it was interesting because some of them were borrowing money to basically make their own payroll of the people that were working for them and not making money for them. We can't do that. I mean, you've got to make the tough decisions. That's your job as an owner or manager, is to make the tough decision. And again, your job as owner or manager is to make those difficult decisions and hold people accountable, because what doesn't get measured doesn't count. If you're not measuring something, and in order to implement accountability, you must manage by numbers and stats versus emotion. It always kills me. In fact, I was just at a huge conference, and I had 500 recruiters in the audience that worked for a very large franchise group. And it was interesting because I was asking them their numbers, like, what is your send out to placement ratio? What is your job order to fill? How many of you know what results you need every single day? And it was no different than any other audience I've ever been in front of. Less than 5% of the audience raised their hand. And I thought the people from the franchise were going to fall out of their chairs. And they went, Barb, we just don't think they understood the question. And I said, no, they understood the question. They don't know their stats. They don't know their ratios. They don't know at all what they're supposed to do every day. And see, you're probably a lot like I am if you own a staffing and recruiting firm. Most of us are salespeople. And I'd rather do anything than track details, just because my personality is very much sales. I'd rather just get the sale done, close the deal, and move on. But I've learned that when I have people that work for me, and at the most I had over 80 recruiters working for me, if I didn't manage it by numbers and stats, I mean, it would have been a disaster, and I pretty much would have felt like a fireman, I think, with that many people. The other thing is, too, unachieved goals should never be erased. I want to ask you right now, if people did not hit their goals in January, February, and March, what happened to the number? Because the difference between the goal set and the goals attained should be added to the goal set for future months. We're halfway into April right now, and so I want you to go at the end of this month. I want you to look at January through April. Those are 4 months. And basically figure out what people said they would do and what they actually did. And the same goes for you if you're a working manager, working owner. You don't want to erase your goals and give up your income goals either. You just don't want to do that. And remember, when I said at the very beginning of this call that 90% of self-made millionaires in our country and in Canada, 90% own their own businesses. You want to be part of that self-made millionaire. You don't want your business to be like you have a job. And that's why you can't erase goals, because if you erase them, the message you sent to everybody, if January I said I was going to do 50,000 in gross margin of profit and I did 30, and you just erased it and put my February goal up there, I'm thinking, wow, that's awesome. But now I know that you're not going to hold me accountable for the goal. The problem is I'm not going to get my income goals that I set for the year, and I'm probably going to blame you because, you told me I could earn that much. You told me I could achieve that much. But by you erasing a goal, you're letting me give up my income goals if I work for you. And you're giving up your growth goals for your company. Every economist that I'm talking to, and the one I follow more than anybody else, is Ellen Below, because Ellen knows our businesses, and he's been spot on for 20 years that I've been following him. And he said there was going to be a little blip this year. He did see the oil and gas thing coming, but starting very shortly here through 2019 is going to be a heyday where business is supposed to be very strong. There's going to be a little tiny blip in 2019, and he's predicting that the 2020s are going to be the best years we've ever seen in our business. But how do you take advantage of that? That doesn't mean that you're having a record year. That doesn't mean that you're going to have the growth or open additional offices or be able to, become a millionaire because you've got a business, unless you've got the right team in place. I love, in fact, it just happened this morning on a consulting call. I was talking to an owner, and he intends to do $3 million this year, okay? In sales, he has a direct placement firm, and he's going to do $3 million this year. Last year, he did 2, and he wants to do 3 this year. And I said, okay, well, he's very frustrated because almost a third of the year is gone. And think about that right now. Almost a third of this year is gone. Are you a third of the way toward the goals you set? So what he said to me is, we're at $600,000, Barb, and I don't think we're going to get much more than $650,000. So we're falling, $350,000 short of my goal. And he said, Ann, I don't even know if we're going to hit the $650,000. I think it could be closer to $600,000, for the first 4 months of this year. And he goes, so I need to know what I have to do to hit that 3 million goal? He said, because I just know that we could do it and we all committed to it. So my first question to him was, well, how many new people did you hire? And he said, none. And I said, okay, so you have the exact same team you had last year. And he said, yes. And he said, but I told them that we're all going to do a third more, because we want to hit that goal. So everybody committed to increasing their production, by 33%, 30 to 35% this year. So we're going to hit the 3 million, and they're not doing it. Well, think about that logic for a minute. Have you ever done that? Have you ever decided that we're going to just do this amount this year? You didn't add on any people. You didn't even look at what people produced last year, but you've got a goal as an owner, and then you set your budget to go with the goals that you've set, only to be blindsided. We can't do that. You have to have the team in place. If you don't have enough team in place, if somebody has never done more than 150 or 200,000 in direct placement, they're not going to do 350,000 in direct placement because you want them to. Unless they want to buy a house, buy a boat, send their kid to a great college, unless they equate it to what it's going to do for them and the people they love, they're not going to hit goals because you want to have a record year. I tell the story often that I used to get up in front of my team every November and go, we're going to have a record year next month, and we're going to roll out some really exciting contests. And I'd be all excited, and I'm rolling out all these contests, and I'm always rolling out a contest for December because I want to set the next year up. So I always do a very lucrative contest in December of every year, okay? And I'm all excited, and I would look out and I'd see eyes rolling, and it used to frustrate me as an owner. And I'd ask my managers, like, what was that all about? And they go, Barb, they're just wondering what you're going to do to them. See, they didn't hear what I was going to do for them. And here's an owner that I just talked to this morning that is very upset that he's at 600,000 because he was supposed to be at $1 million after April 30th. But guess what? He didn't hire the people to do it. And the current people he had are not those top producers, big billers that he wants them to be. You can't hire a duck and ask them to be an eagle. They might be a very happy duck. They might be making more money than they've ever earned in their life. And again, you trying to motivate somebody without them having specific reasons of what's in it for them, they're not going to do it. But the best thing you could do for them is at the end of April, take the difference between what they've produced and what they said they were going to produce and divide it by 8 and add it to the following 8 months of the year. Because what you want to say to them is the third of the year is gone. I don't want you giving up your income goals. The next 2/3 of this year are going to be extremely strong. By all indicators, this is going to be a very strong year. I don't want to let you give up your income goals. I don't want you to give up your dreams. And so we're going to add and all of a sudden now it's a total different environment because those goals that were erased weren't erased. They didn't go away. And now people are going to realize that you care enough about them to help them achieve, to help them add on what they didn't achieve. It's no different than parents that don't put parameters on their kids versus somebody who does put parameters. I used to tell my kids, me being stern is just my way of showing I love you. And they're like, it doesn't feel that way. And I go, someday when you have kids, and guess what? They're doing the exact same thing now to their children. And understanding that, holding accountability is a way of showing people that you care. One of the most damaging employees you could have on your team is someone who's quit and stayed. This person may have been a producer for you in the past. You feel a sense of loyalty to them. However, they've lost their passion. You can't just like what we do. You have to love what we do because we have people on both sides and there is so much rejection and so much negativity and so much frustration. And right now, just the influx of counteroffers being accepted, placements being made behind our backs. There's so many things that we're having to deal with now. There's solutions to all those, but it's still gut-wrenching. And if you don't have a passion for this, you can't do it. The only reason they're staying with you is because you're compensating them. But I have owners tell me, my God, they're into me for $50,000. And I had one owner actually admit to me last month at a conference in March that he had 3 people that worked for him that had not made a placement. He had a direct placement firm. And they had not made one placement, and they were at the end of the first quarter of the year. Obviously they've either, and these are people, by the way, that worked for him for a long time. So he was feeling this sense of loyalty, but they quit and stayed. When you don't hold non-achievers accountable, it has a negative impact on the people who are producing. If I'm producing and I'm doing my job and I see other people in the office that are not producing and nothing's being done upon it, you're losing credibility as an owner or a manager. They're wondering why you're not addressing the individuals who are not producing, and they're actually questioning your ability to manage. And this could result in you losing some of your current high performers. As a business owner or manager, you've got to be comfortable in holding your team accountable. It's your job and responsibility to protect your business. And by holding people accountable, you're also protecting the people that are working for you that are producing, because now their production is not going to fund people that are not producing. Now, how does accountability affect your bottom line? Your budget is based on projected sales goals set by your sales team. If members of your team do not attain goals set, you will not hit projected sales or profits. It's as easy as that. You're in business to generate profits, to protect a healthy bottom line, not to provide jobs for the people who work for you. Your sales team is either adding to the bottom line or they're taking away from it. Their desk is either a profit or loss center, and you can't afford to retain individuals who do not add to the bottom line. The majority of your time should be spent focusing on helping your high achievers, not trying to save individuals who are not profitable. And by the way, I've made this mistake over and over again in my career till I finally realized the price it was costing me as an owner. I would spend all my time. I'm a trainer. And so I'm thinking I could turn somebody around. I'm just going to micromanage them. I'm going to really train them and turn them around. And what I realize is some people don't want to be turned around. And as an owner or manager, you've got to be doing everything you can to help your high achievers even achieve more. It's important to implement an indefinite probation plan with a plan of action to protect your bottom line business and profits. If somebody is not producing, you say, well, I'm going to put you on indefinite probation, and you mentor and micromanage them. You give them a plan. Here's the plan to help us turn this around. And you've got to meet with them daily. Or if you've got a large enough organization, have a manager meet with them daily and check their stats, check their numbers, listen to their calls. You can't, the answer is not make more calls. I love when I run into owners, well, if they just pick up the phone more. Now, I believe that you have to talk to form relationships. I believe this has been, is, and always will be a relationship building business. And you can't only communicate by texting and email. And when your people tell you that, that's not true. That's how they're comfortable communicating. They're comfortable communicating, emailing and texting. Even people that date online have to meet someday. So, this is a relationship building business. You have to talk on the phone, okay? But if somebody made 50 phone calls and didn't get any results, the last thing they want to hear is make more calls, because obviously something's wrong with their call. You got to listen to their call. I believe in role practicing. I don't call it role playing because nobody likes to role play. So I'll say, why don't we role practice? And they look at me like, what? I go, let's practice. It's like anything else. If you're playing basketball, you got to practice to get good. I play piano. Believe me, the first time I sat down at the piano, I could play nothing. And my mother was a concert pianist. And so, her standards were extremely high. But it took years for me to even try to hold a candle to her talent, because it just takes practice. This is a career, not a job. And if you've got somebody that is not doing well, you've got to meet with them daily. You've got to mentor them. You've got to micromanage them daily. And what it's going to do is either they're going to realize you care and it's going to turn things around, or they're no longer going to be there, because they don't want to be micromanaged. They like slipping through the cracks. And believe me, people that are not producing are not happy. I've always said this job is either the best job in the world or it sucks. There's nothing in between depending on what kind of month you're having. Anybody currently working for is not making you money, and not being held accountable is negatively impacting your bottom line. And again, it's almost, not everybody's made to do what we do. I always say people that do great in our profession are social workers who like money. Like, we want to make a difference. We want to have an impact. We love changing people's lives, but we realize we also want to change the lives of the people that we love. We want to take care of ourselves. We want to take care of our families. Even if a person is not costing you money, they're consuming your time and efforts and taking up space on your team that could be filled by a high achiever. But again, if you need an eagle, don't hire a duck. What is your hiring process? You have to have a hiring process that identifies people that have sales experience, a history of peak performance, and they want to sell. Quit calling this a consulting job. This is a sales job. And when you hire, I love it. And every single time I train, somebody puts their hand up and says, I can't believe how much they want me to be on the phone. Why didn't they know that? Why didn't they know that to begin with? Why didn't they know that? Now, it's one thing for me to tell you to hold people accountable. I think it's another thing to show you how to do it. So what I want to do now is give you 6 strategies, and this is going to basically teach you how to hold your team accountable, and yet they're going to see the what's in it for me. Because understand something, the only reason you're on this phone call with me today is because the topic may have resonated, but you're on this call to learn something that's going to make you more successful. The what's in it for you. If after a minute or two, that you didn't enjoy the call, you'd have hung up because you're wondering what's in it for you. Your people are wondering the same thing. If you're going to start holding them accountable, doing things a little bit differently, they have to understand the what's in it for them, or they're not going to go along with it. They have to feel this is something you're doing for them, not to them. That's very important. If you want somebody to change, if you want someone to embrace anything you're doing as an owner or a manager, they have to understand why it benefits them. This is something you are doing for them, not to them. Okay? And so let's give you the 6 strategies to hold your team accountable. Strategy number 1 is mandate 10 non-negotiable goals with dated action items, because people are only going to attain a higher level of success for their own reasons, not yours. And so have them set goals in all aspects of their life, not just work and money, personal, philanthropic, spiritual, health. What else is there? Education, career, money, in all areas of their life that are important. And then under each goal, they put dated action items, and they post this where they're working. And as they achieve the action items, they highlight them so they can see that they're accomplishing something. And when they do the 4 or 5 action items, the goal is hit. See, the difference between a non-negotiable goal with action items and normal goals is normal goals are New Year's resolutions. We write down goals every November. We throw them in a drawer. We never look at them. And then when usually when a boss says, well, we're going to set goals for next year, people pull out the same goals. They change the year. Look, these sound good, but there's no commitment involved. When you ask people to write down goals, what do when you're saying, I'm going to take what you didn't do in the first 4 months and add it on to the last 8 months, I want you to achieve what is important to you. In fact, what I'd like you to do is write it down. If you hit your goal this year, what does that mean for you? What is that going to do for you and the people you love? Think about that in all areas of your life. Post down if this is that year, where are you going to go? What are you going to do? What are you going to buy? Where are you going to travel? What are you going to, and have them not only think about themselves, but the people they love, because people in our profession take care of everybody. And so you got to have them think about what they want to do for the people they love as well. And when you do this, now they're going to get better for their own reasons, not yours. And by the way, you want to know where to put a contest? Look at what they're writing down that they're trying to achieve and help them achieve some of the things they've written down. They will work their butts off to win that contest, and try to do contests where everybody can win if they hit certain levels. You don't always want to have your top producer winning every contest, and run contests where you need results. Run contests where you need results. And instant gratification. Contests have to be short and sweet. Short and sweet. You also want a strategy number 2, determine small rewards and consequences. If your people attain their goals, how will they reward themselves? If they don't attain their goals, what will they give up? In my office, we give up the dumbest things. I give up Chinese food because I love it. And I set goals for myself and our search firm and our training company and our contract firm and my technology company. I set goals in all our different companies. And if I don't hit them, then I give up Chinese food. And I'm telling you, my team will bring in Chinese food at least once or twice a week when they know I can't have it. I've had people give up Diet Cokes or give up Facebook or give up, and which is miserable for a lot of them, or whatever, but you determine in advance what you're going to give up. And it's got to be something they can give up in the office. And then you add the unattained goals to future months. But what are they going to do? How do they reward themselves? Because if your people are only working to pay bills and take care of everybody else, they also have to take care of themselves. What we do in our organization, if we hit goals, then we always take them out to dinner. It's a place that they choose. They can choose where we're going to go, what we're going to do. And we bring everybody. We bring the receptionists, the accounting people, everybody, because we want everybody to be part of the team. And even if an individual hasn't attained their goal, if our office hits the goal, everybody still goes out. You've got to make the environment fun, but it's got to be performance-based. It's got to be performance-based. And what's interesting is we do a baseball thing every year where, if our team hits a certain goal, and I basically let them off at noon, and we go to Harry Carey's for lunch, and then we go to a baseball game, and it's a whole afternoon. And we actually have, temporary employees answering our phones. The interesting thing about it is if everybody doesn't attain their goal, they can still go if the office hits the goal. But the people that don't attain their goals, they have to serve drinks that day. All day long, they're the grunts, and nobody wants to be the grunts. So come up with something fun like that. It doesn't have to be anything dramatic, but it makes it fun. And if there's some small consequence, people don't want consequences. They just don't. But there has to be consequences if they don't hit their goals. You've got to track stats and ratios. It's the only effective way to manage. Everyone should focus on daily results they need to consistently hit or surpass goals. Daily results should be set. Daily goals not set should be added to the next day. If I know I have to book 5 send-outs a week, say that I know if I book 5 send-outs, I'm going to make a placement because my send-out to fill ratio is 5 to 1. And so if I want to do a sale a week, I'm doing easy numbers to make it easy on this example I'm giving you. So say I want to have a sale a week, and I know I have to have 5 send-outs. My send-out to, but by the way, send-out to placement ratio is an extremely important number for you to know. But say that I know I've got to do 5 send-outs, and say I know I've got to book 3 interviews because out of every 3 people I interview, I send 1 out. So I've got to interview 3 people a day to get that 1 send-out a day, so I have 5 send-outs that week to get a placement. Okay? Works same on the contract side. What numbers do you need to hit? Okay, if I don't do 3 interviews today, I do 2. I've got to do 4 tomorrow. And if I know I have to do 3 interviews a day, I'm going to book 4 or 5 because somebody's going to no-show. So how many job orders, contracts, or assignments do your people have to write? How many people do they have to interview? How many presentations on existing openings? If you run a high-level, fast-paced temp desk where people just show up, how many people, that you send out that start, just automatically, how many of them stick after 2 weeks? You've got to know the numbers so your people know what results they need every day. It's not the numbers of phone calls. If I've got to do 3 interviews a day, that means I have to set up 4 or 5. How many recruiting calls do I have to make to set up 4 or 5 interviews? It could be 20. Some days it could be 30. I'm going to do however many calls I have to make because now I know I have to book 4 or 5 interviews a day because I got to do 3 a day. And what's the worst scenario? 4 show up? But if I only do 2 today, I got to do 4 tomorrow. By the end of this week, I know I have to do 15 interviews. That's when the job is fun. That's when you can predict. And by the way, people that do contract and temp, you've always got that reoccurring revenue model. When you're doing direct, often you feel like it's a crapshoot and you can't predict it. Yes, you can if you know the numbers and stats. And focus on increasing the number of send-outs. If you want a better second quarter than you had first quarter, just increase the number of send-outs. The main focus of everybody that works for you is to get candidates in front of hiring authorities, period. That's their job. Now, my definition of a send-out, that's not a submittal. It's a candidate in front of a hiring authority first interview. I don't care if it's a telephone interview, a face-to-face interview, a Skype interview. I don't care how they're interviewing. But my definition of a send-out is a candidate in front of a hiring authority first interview. Every day, where is my send-out today? And if you want people to have a better month this month than they did last month, increase the number of send-outs. It's a numbers game. I love when, in fact, it was so funny. I was in front of an accounting franchise. They all place accounting and finance. And so their numbers were down. This was a year ago. And I said, well, how many send-outs do you average a month? Well, we finally figured out that they average about 10 a month as just kind of overall the whole entire company. And I said, so what is your send-out to placement ratio? Well, it turned out to be 6 to 1. Well, what's wrong with that number? Everybody was booking roughly, 9 or 10 send-outs a month. Their send-out to placement ratio was 6 to 1. So they gave themselves a chance of 1 sale a month. Now, if they had just increased the send-out total to 12 or 13, they could have doubled their income, doubled their sales. Because 6 to 1, if they book 12, chances are they're going to get 2 sales. And when I said that to them, they go, that's not right. That can't possibly be that. I said, if you all just book 2 or 3 more send-outs a month, and if I know my send-out to placement ratio is 6 to 1, I'm going to probably try to do like 13, 14 send-outs. I'm not going to only do 12. I want to give myself a little bit of a cushion there. Well, when they left the conference, they basically just through the whole entire franchise said, we want a minimum of 12 send-outs a month. And they had many offices that doubled their sales. And many of their recruiters doubled their sales, doubled their income. It's all a matter of knowing your numbers. You want to be more successful, get more people on interviews. I don't care if you're doing, high-level temp, a contract rather, fast-paced temp, direct placement. If you increase the number of people that you're setting out on interviews, you will make more placements because that's the first important step. And in order to have a send out, you have to have a candidate and you have to have a job order, a contract, or a temp assignment. And it's all about increasing that number of send outs. You've also got to get organized. Get your people organized. They've got to clean what's on, in, and around their desk. Prosperity is not driven to disorganization, and you have to be the most organized person in the office as the owner or manager. And I know you've got 3 full-time jobs. I know you do. But if you want to hold them accountable, you got to clear up the stuff. They're using 20% of what's in, on, and around their desk. Get rid of the other 80%. How much time is wasted looking for things? You got to quit looking for things. You also, strategy number 6 is conduct a weekly review and have everybody that works for you conduct a weekly review. Okay, this will really help this is going to help your people hold themselves accountable. Now, the first time you do this, I suggest you do it as a group. But this is great for sole proprietors. It's great for really large organizations. I have many major franchises that are now using my weekly review. And what you're going to do at the end of every week is just stand back for 30 minutes and review what's gone on in your business. Now, if you're a business owner or manager and you're working a desk, you're going to do this twice. You're going to do it once to review your own desk, your own production, and once you're going to stand back and look at your business. When I go to conferences, I just got back from an executive conference in Washington, D.C., because I just feel I have to attend conferences to keep learning. And it was interesting because when I was at this conference and I was listening to a lot of the things they said, I was thinking to myself, there's some good stuff here, but nobody is really, standing back and giving us like, okay, step 1, step 2, step 3. And they all kept saying work on your business, not in your business. Well, when you have a staffing and a recruiting firm, unless you're very large, you're working in it. You're in it, you're on it, you're around it. You eat, drink, and sleep it. You just do. I mean, and whenever somebody would say that to me, work, on your business, not in your business, I would look back at them and say, you know what? You don't own a staffing and a recruiting firm. Now, I did change the fact that I was the top producer in my firm for almost 20 years because that was stunting the growth of my company. And I think it was my ego. I think it was, I've always judged myself on my ability to produce high numbers. And when I decided to move, because my husband had taken a job in a different city, and the first time someone beat me, it was my own daughter who beat my production. It killed me. It killed me that she beat me. And yet that was my license to open other offices because now this office wasn't dependent on my production. Do you realize if your production makes up more than 20-25% of your sales, you can't sell your business unless you go with it? You want to replace yourself as the top producer. But if you are producing and owning your business, do this review twice. Put 30 minutes on your calendar. That's all I want you to mark off. And I want you to do that when you get off this phone. Every Friday, mark off 30 minutes on your calendar. Got to do that. And what you're going to ask is, what did you do right this week? Because you want to do more of those activities in the coming week. What is that 20% that gave you 80% of your results? How did you waste your time? How did your people waste their time? You want them to stop doing those things immediately. Are they interviewing candidates they're never going to place? The average recruiter, and this statistic kills me, the average recruiter spends 90 minutes a day talking to people they're never going to place, interviewing them, giving them free consulting, doing resumes for them, taking their incoming status and update calls, because guess what? Easier to do that than make an outgoing call. But it's those planned outgoing calls, those proactive planned outgoing calls that really take a person to a new level. And then what new idea are they going to implement the next week? Just like I'm going to challenge all of you, you got to take 3 action items after this call. What are you going to do? It's not enough to show up to one of my calls. What are you going to implement? I want you to go back and think of 3 things that you're going to implement that are going to change things for you. And now let's get to my last topic, the why of accountability. When someone is not performing on your sales team, they're well aware of the fact. I love when an owner goes up to say, do you realize you're at zero? Do you might blank this month? Do you realize that you're $20,000 lower on gross margin and profit than you're supposed to be this week? Of course they know. Of course they know. They're not thrilled with their performance. And they often stay out of loyalty to you. They might not even love what they're doing anymore. They burnt out. They've lost their passion. They want to do something different. But again, holding them accountable shows them you care enough to offer to work with them to turn things around. You're also at times going to come to a mutual conclusion that the profession is not what they're meant to do. This is not meant for everybody. I don't think there's a better profession out there, but that's me. I do know it's not meant for everybody, though. You can't just like being a recruiter. You got to be passionate about it because we have people's lives in our hands, and we can either help them or we can do damage. Why should you hold your people accountable? Because it's the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do for them. It's the right thing to do for yourself. It's the right thing to do for their coworkers and for your business. If you want to have a record year in 2016, and by the way, every one of you can still do that. The last 8 months of this year is supposed to be very lucrative, okay? And the prediction up through the third quarter in 2019 is supposed to be extremely strong, all in our favor. Baby boomers are still retiring. There's that global competition. It's still really hard to find talented people, but this is a relationship building business. One last tip I want to give all of you, make sure you've got 2 contacts at every client. You don't want to lose a client if you lose one of the people that work for you. Protect yourself. I'm not doing this particular session on, this isn't really an owner-manager, protect your business type of session, but you should have 2 people that know every account. So if you lose somebody else in your organization has trust and rapport built up. And you need to have 2 to 3 contacts at every client. You can't only have 1 contact because our contacts are leaving much faster than they've ever done before. You need 2 or 3 people at every single company to make sure that if a contact leaves, you don't lose the business. You know how hard it is to land a client, build rapport. You don't want to lose them because one of your contacts happens to leave or change. That's just another bonus tip I'm going to give you that's not going to be on your handout. If you want to increase sales and profits, if you've enjoyed the training I've given you today, I have a product that is my brain dump that's called the Top Producer Tutor. The reason I created this is I used to do in-house training, and then people would bring me back 3 months later, then 3 months later, and I was like, you've got to implement what I'm training you. And what the tutor does is it's a program that it's 15 minutes a day. People, watch a video, they read, they write down what they've learned, they're tested every 5 days to make sure they're comprehending the program. And there's live calls with me. A call like this, I do this every Wednesday. I can be your live training call every week for your people. I do bi-weekly coaching calls where they can ask me questions. Plus, I have a library in there. In addition to the Top Producer Tutor courses, I have a library of over 200 training resources, training webinars that have recordings, MP3 files, and handouts. Just like you're going to all get a recording of this, every call I do for my training clients is recorded. If anybody invests in my Top Producer Tutor in the month of April, I'm going to give you my 26-week strategic management tutor that'll teach you how to manage and protect your business and protect yourself. We also cover hiring. So the demo doesn't take that long, plus we give you free access to the product where you can actually go in and click around and see what's in there and see if it's something for you. It's everything I know. Plus I keep upgrading it every single week because I'm doing calls on topics that I get from my tutor clients. If you want to schedule a demo, it takes 20 minutes, and we don't demo it because that would be boring. We give you a login and a password and let you click around, and it's very quick. Also, if you're certified, if you've got your certification by NAPS or TSA, my program is approved for continuing education credit. So if you're trying to keep your certifications current for either NAPS or TSA, this program is approved for both NAPS and TSA certification. All you have to do is call us or send an email to that support line. If you enjoyed today's training, this is about not even 1% of what's included in the tutor training, and all these types of topics. And it's easy for me, do you ever have your kids go to the neighbors for advice? It's easy for me as an outside trainer to say a lot of the same things you say, but they're going to quote me. I have a lot of owners say, their people go, what Barbara Bruno do? Because, I'm saying what the owners are saying, what the managers are saying, but you get an outside person to say it, and all of a sudden, it's well, gee, it must be. I now want to answer any questions you have. You can ask me questions one of 2 ways. You can either go to the attendee list, find your name, and if you put in the phone number, PIN number, and access code, you can hit that little yellow hand. I'll unmute your line, and you and I can talk. Or you can go down below on the control panel, and you see the word questions. If you click on the word questions, you can just, you can type in anything, And, I will answer any question. Denise is asking me, what is the name of the economist that I follow? His name is Alan Below. It's spelled Alan Below, Beaulieu. The name of his organization is ITR Economics. So if you Google ITR Economics or Ellen Below, he's just a great guy. He's got a new book out now, How to Prosper in a Declining Economy. And he still thinks the outlook for our profession is great, but he's worried about the decisions that our leaders are making. And he's very worried about, the debt that this country has and that type of thing. So I would buy his book. Don't buy the courses. I bought every course he has, ended up giving him my accountant because he's an economist. The courses are very detailed and really, really kind of crazy. But the book that he's got, that, How to Prosper in a Declining Economy or something like that, it's a brand new book. His book is worth the read. His book is worth the read. How many people have gone through your program, and what is the cost per person? Once you own the tutor, you can train somebody for their entire career for $50. For a one-time charge of $50, your people have access to the training programs, to the top producer tutor, the temp and contract tutor, the weekly calls, the biweekly coaching calls, plus you can give us the topics of the live calls. We get the input from everybody. So once you own the tutor, it's $50 per person to put them in, and they're in as long as they work for you. Interesting thing, a lot of people leave and they want to own their tutor because they have notes in it. They've got, all their materials in there. That can't happen. If you've got any current training, you can download your training into the tutor software, in the library. So you can actually, whatever you've got sitting around, it's a turnkey comprehensive training program. If you want to sell your company someday and you want to increase the value, you have to show them you have comprehensive structured training. And that's what this is. It's turnkey. You buy it, and by the next day, it's up, running, and it's very comprehensive. And I could be there to mentor and coach your people. We've had almost 30,000 people go through this program in the last 5 years. So we've trained over 30,000. But that's worldwide. We train in 7 countries. And I'm going to be upgrading the tutor next year. And we're actually going to be putting it out in several languages because we are being asked to put it out in a few languages. So the new learning management system we're going to go on allows us to basically pick, many different languages. So, and I can tell you one thing, I have not had one owner that is invested in this come back and say my sales didn't increase. So, that's what we guarantee. The tutor pays for itself because your sales are going to increase. I only became a trainer so you can make more money. This was never a goal of mine to be a trainer. It's nothing I ever aspired to, never something I never thought I was going to do. It just happened. But if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it so that it makes you more money. How long do you allow for a completion of performance plans probation period for underperforming employees? I'll tell you what, Ryan, it's different for every employee because I tell them you're on an indefinite probation plan. Because if you tell somebody you're putting them on 60 days probation, they feel they've got an income for 60 days and 60 days to find a new job. When you say indefinite probation, that means you could fire them within a week if you want to. It's indefinite. You've got it, and you're going to know very quickly, Ryan, if they're going to go along with the program or if they're going to buck you, because you're meeting with them daily. You're giving them daily things to do, okay? So daily you're giving them things and you're checking what they're doing at the end of every single day, or your manager is. And if you don't see them really stepping up to the plate, if they're not planning their outgoing calls, if they're not changing anything, because they can't do things the same way and expect different results, they got to really shake things up. They've got to get out of that comfort zone. Comfort zone's not working. And so I've actually terminated somebody as quickly as less than 2 weeks if I don't see them, if I don't see them showing me something. What is your view on base salary compensation plus commission versus a draw? If you favor a draw, what percentage? I don't favor a draw, Jenny, because I don't think you can get good people on a draw. I think it's too tough. I think that most people expect a base salary. And I just have to ask you a question, Jenny. If you've ever paid somebody on draw and they didn't make it, did they pay you the draw back? So really it's a salary. I mean, you call it a draw, but it's a salary. And I'd rather pay somebody a salary coming in and at the beginning pay them 10% of every dollar that comes in the door, on top of their salary. I also heavily bonus send-outs in the first 90 days that people work for me. I will pay $20 a send-out for every send-out they book, and then it goes up to $30 a send-out, and depending on how many they're booking in a month. Because they don't earn commissions and incentives with us for a long time unless you're doing fast pace, temp. Temp and contract pay faster than direct does. So depending on what you have your people doing. But I believe in a base salary plus a commission. And I think the commission should increase based on cash in. And so the higher the cash in, that's why they really try to work, November, December, because they could be earning, really high commissions if they're hitting certain plateaus for cash in. So increase cash in for the last few months of the year and watch what happens. Your people are going to bust their bottoms to close deal and get cash in before the end of the year. What advice would you give to a recruiter with a good attitude who has consistently missed production goals? Then I don't know what advice. I'd have to be listening to them. I'd have to be working with them, but the advice is the quickest advice I would give is increase the number of send-outs. Because if they are missing production goals or not getting enough people in front of hiring authorities, I would give them their numbers and show them exactly what results they needed every day. But the bottom line is get more people in front of hiring authorities. You get more people out there, and I'm not saying throw crap against the wall and hope it sticks. You got to pre-screen and that, but that would be my biggest piece of advice was realize your job is to book send-outs. You're not getting enough people. If you're missing your production goals, you're not sending enough people out on first interviews. Get more people out there. Get more people out there. And again, if it's a recruiter only doing the recruiter side, are they not bringing in the quality? Are they depending on job boards or stuff? Are they not going out there and getting those good candidates, those passive candidates that our clients want to hire? You got to, and I would role practice with the person. I would listen and I would have them make calls. What is this person's brand? Why should I use this recruiter as opposed to any other recruiter in the office? Because sometimes they'll say, well, clients hate when we say we're different than we all say the same things. What is this person's brand? Why should I use them as opposed to any other recruiter in your office? If they can't answer that, they're never going to be a good producer for you. I would say get him in my training and let me train him for you, Mark. I'll turn him around for you. And again, if he's got a great attitude, but you got to be very specific with people because attitude is important. It really impacts what we do, but they have to be doing things right. Give them scripts. Are they overcoming objections? If your people are not overcoming 3 objections with every phone call, they're making customer service calls. They got to make sales calls. Okay, this is Susan. How long does a demo take? 20 minutes. 20 minutes, and you're going to do all the clicking, and then we give you an hour of access so you can actually look at it. And we've got tons of testimonials. I mean, if you want testimonials from anybody, we have, thousands of testimonials from clients. And I've even got a franchise that's private labeled My Training. They sell their franchise for $100,000, and their training program is My Training. They've private labeled it, so I find that pretty interesting. And I can tell you, that we've had this training out there long enough where we've seen the results. We know it works. If you want to increase sales and profits, I am telling you, at least look at this. It doesn't cost you a dime to look at it. It doesn't cost you a dime. And it could be the change you're looking for. And understand something, you don't have to train anymore. Your weekly training call can be our weekly call. You want specific training, you send an email to my organization, that becomes the topic. I always take the topics from the people that own our products. Okay, I don't see any more hands up. Let me see if there's any more questions here. I appreciate all of you joining me. And, again, accountability is everything. People do what you inspect, not what you expect, and you're being kind if you hold people accountable. You're being responsible if you hold people accountable. And as I said at the beginning of this call, 90% of self-made millionaires are people that own their own business. If you're not earning, $250,000 or above as a business owner, you just bought yourself a job. And so now you have to, now what you have to do is you have to go out there and make some changes. I just had Denise ask, are you going to get the recording? Yes, I'm going to send this recording to anybody that registered for this call. So you will get this recording. Absolutely. What percentage of recruiters' income is fixed versus commission? I'd love to be able to answer that, Gonzalo, but I don't know because everybody has a different pay plan. We used to be pretty much cookie cutter. You want the person to make more on their commission than you do on their base. You want their base to be strictly a base salary. You don't want the base to be so high that they can exist on it. Now, contract and temporary pay higher bases than direct does, because of course the commissions on direct are much higher, that quick pop, where the contract side is that residual income, but again, you don't want them to be able to exist on their salary. because then there's no incentive. You want it. And I believe in instant gratification. I believe that in addition to commissions, there should also be contests every month where you need attention, instant gratification, food, time off. There's contests. If you say whoever does this gets to leave Friday at 3, watch what happens. Or if you come 10% over your goal, you get to leave on one Friday next month at noon. Or then you can earn the whole day off on Friday. Do you know what people will do to get time off in the summer? What would your people do above their goals to get a day off that's not paid time off? Sometimes you can do things, and it's interesting. I have people that have worked for me probably, I bet I've got people on my team that haven't worked a Friday probably in 4 years, 5 years, probably even more than that, because we have contests where you can earn all the Fridays off. And guess what? They're still working on Friday. They're working from home because they want to earn Fridays off the next month. It's just kind of funny how that works. Instant gratification, quick, easy contest. And when you look at their written goals, do something that helps somebody attain their goals, and they'll attain the contest. They will attain the contest. All right, I want to thank everybody for joining me. Please consider doing a demo. It's one of the best things. It's basically one of the better things that I've ever done because it's my brain dump. And so I would definitely, do all you can to at least watch the demo. I think you owe it to yourself and your team. I have somebody else. Let's see. I have a mixed desk, temp and perm. Would you instead pay commissions separately? No, but the commissions are done definitely, like obviously commissions on contract are extremely lower than the commissions you're paying on direct placements. So the percentages are different, but no, you don't have to have a total different incentive plan, but the commissions, I wouldn't pay them separately, but obviously they're calculated different because direct placement pays much higher commissions. Contract and temporary pay much lower commissions because it's that reoccurring revenue model. So just make sure that the commissions you're paying are in line with what they should be. All right, I'm getting a bunch of thank yous from everybody right now. Thank you. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for caring enough to be on this call. I wish all of you a record year. I hope you all have record profits. And again, one more time, please set up a demo. I would love the chance to have my team show this to you. It will not take 20 minutes of your time. And so, there should be no reason why you can't take 20 minutes of your time to look at something that could totally give you what you need to get to that next level of success and become one of those self-made millionaires. Thanks for joining me, everybody. Have an absolute great day.